Hi, Audrey Snyder with The Athletic. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Audrey?
I'm good. I guess since you've been here, obviously not that long, but what has been your early impression of the specialists you have to work with, and kind of where do you start formulating your idea of the guys that you have in that room that you'll be working with?
Yeah, I think it's hard. So far, I've seen mainly winter workouts, conditioning. So, at that position, certainly how big they are, how fast they are, how strong they are isn't as critical. So I think a lot to be seen yet on how I feel about the talent. But I love the competitive nature of the group. I love the depth. I feel very good about what I've seen on tape from previous years. I think there's a lot of room for growth in that room. I'm excited about the future.
Mark Brennan from Lions 247. A belated welcome to State College.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It seems like the situation with you getting a job here came together pretty quickly. Can you take us through how that process worked to the extent that whatever you can tell us? And what's it like for a coach to be caught up in that whirlwind?
Sure. It certainly happened fast. Coach Franklin and I have known each other for a number of years, from really my time in the PSAC when I was head coach at Edinboro, going back to those days and coming down to the state high school clinic here on campus. So I've known Coach for a long time, and we've had a lot of mutual connections. So that happened pretty fast. I think on both ends, he knew what he was getting with me, and I knew what I was getting into. So it happened fast. I think the hardest thing's on the family, but it happened fast. I was here before you knew it, and excited to be here, and excited to be back home.
Daniel?
Justin,
Yeah.
Daniel Gallen, Lions 24/7. You kind of talk about having that relationship with James from your time in the PSAC. How did that develop, I guess, over these past couple of years to get to the point with that comfort where you can make that decision so quickly?
Sure. I think, again, going back to being a Pennsylvania guy, I think Coach has done a phenomenal job of tracking younger coaches. And I remember when he followed me on Twitter, about 10 years ago, and I thought that was a really cool thing at the time, that Coach followed me. So our relationship goes way back, and I've always followed him from afar and rooted for Penn State inside, even though I was at other colleges. So, just again, excited to be here and excited to actually work for him.
Back left, Allie.
Allie, ABC 27 and Nittany Nation. Welcome to State College.
Thank you.
Sorry, turning off big time. Coach talks a lot about the best in PA, staying in PA, trying to keep high school athletes here
Sure.
and not have to go somewhere else to compete at a high level. Do you believe Pennsylvania has enough strength of players and of talent to compete, in that top four college football playoff type environment?
Yeah, I mean, you're asking a guy who grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, so I may have a biased answer, but yes, I believe that there is enough talent here. Now, does that mean that we don't need to dip our toes across the country and especially in local regions? We're going to need to do that, but there's talent across the state, and I've seen it on our roster already in the morning workout, so I'm excited about it. And I think, for me specifically, when you're playing for your home school, your home state school, you're coaching for your home state school, there's an added responsibility, there's added accountability, and I think that comes into play with the players as well. They know their families, they know their friends are all watching. So I think you get a little extra effort when you recruit those local guys.
Over here on the right, Tyler.
Hey, welcome to town. Thank you for the time today.
Thanks.
Tyler Donahue from Lions 24/7. I'm curious about the kicking competition that has a ways to go, obviously, and we just talked about it's only conditioning. But with Chase, guy who's never kicked in a Penn State uniform, Ryan's only kicked in practice field. I think Sanders has 3 or 4 kicks at the college level. So what are you going off of right now as you try to lay the foundation for what that competition is going to look like, what you want to push these guys to become? How do you kind of base that off of a very limited track record of them doing much here on this specific campus?
Sure. Well, I think that position, a lot of it's objective, right? We're going to be able to track every single kick that they make or miss in practice. They're also, it's easy to give them equal opportunities because offensively or defensively, if you're a receiver, maybe you need to go with the starting quarterback, or if you're a quarterback, you need to go with the starting offensive line. And it may not be quite as fair to evaluate those positions when they're with different teammates. Now, with kickers, you know, you can go out there and they can kick off of a tee, a holder, and there's no other variables. So we'll be able to get some objective data after the spring. I'll be able to tell you a lot more about that race after spring ball, but I'm excited about getting those guys out there, and I think competition always breeds a higher level of success as well. So I do believe that we have really good competition, good depth in that room.
Back left corner, Andrew.
Hey Coach, Andrew Clay, WTAJ, Nittany Nation. First of all, does your family miss Nashville yet? And secondly, Coach talks a lot about wanting a head coach of the offense, defense, special teams.
Right.
What kind of conversation was that like with you? Had you heard or had that conversation in previous stops of your head coach wanting someone for you to take kind of that kind of role?
Yeah, well, I'll go to my family first, that part of the question. They're excited to be here. So my wife grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania as well, so that's like snow capital of the world, so I don't think you can show us anything snow-wise that we haven't seen growing up. So we're so excited to be back home, and my family is as well. In regards to your question of being the head coach of the special teams, I think as a coach and as my growth has happened over the years, you learn to be accountable for your areas. So I wouldn't expect anything less. I'm responsible for the special teams, and it's all going to run through me. And I know that when good things happen, I know that when bad things happen. So that's certainly not a surprise, and I really wouldn't have it any other way. That's the way I look at it as well. And I think, being a head coach for 1 year has allowed me to just have a little bit of a different lens and understand what's important as an assistant coach and how important it is to be a good soldier.
Up here, John.
Hey Justin, John Sauber, Center Daily Times. You haven't coached the defensive side of the ball, and I think it's been about 19 years. How do you expect that transition to go, and how are you kind of preparing to switch over from offense to defense?
Yeah, sure. Well, at Edinboro, actually, I ran the defense, so that was a big transition and a long story, but it has been a long time. I think I can bring, where I'm going to be able to bring to the table in the defensive room is being on the offensive side in a lot of different systems over the last several years. I've been in NFL-style systems. I've been in old Baylor spread systems. So I think I'm going to be able to, I believe I'm going to be able to help a lot game planning wise and say to the defensive staff, hey, this is not what they're doing. This may be an RPO, or this may be a certain scheme, or they're checking towards, to this look to get into this play. So the value that I'll be able to bring from the offensive perspective, I think will be helpful to the defensive staff.
Up front, Seth.
Hey, Seth Engel, Daily Collegian. Justin, in recent years, Penn State's really used the nickelback position, and for you to now lead this unit, have there been conversations, maybe how much the nickel will be utilized, come next season, and are there maybe some names that you've seen, pop off to kind of hold down that?
Yeah, I'm not prepared to share any names right now, but I'll say that is always going to be a critical part on any defense, just because you're seeing so many spread offenses. Now, people are starting to maybe trend away from that a little bit, but there's always going to be a slot on almost all offensive formations. You're going to have that nickel that's going to be matched up with them. So it's going to be a critical piece. I'm excited to help contribute with those guys as best as I can.
Over here on the right, Daniel.
Justin, over the past, during his time here, James has really put an emphasis on special teams in terms of scholarship investment, having a full-time coordinator. What does that mean to you, coming into a roster where there is kind of that infrastructure in place?
Yeah, that is so critically important and was so critically attractive to me in terms of taking this position here. The obvious reasons for me are personal, from coming back home to being close to family and friends to being a part of this great university and this great historic program and working for Coach Franklin. But another piece that's also very important is you always want, as a special teams coach, work for a head coach who values the importance of special teams. And I can tell you, Coach and I were texting back and forth the other night during the Super Bowl, and I think that's pretty obvious, the importance of special teams and how that can play a major role in winning and losing football games.
Kyle.
I'm curious, you're so well traveled as a coach. What will your recruiting responsibilities look like here at Penn State from a regional perspective? And maybe parts of your background you feel like you're able to pick into regionally that maybe Penn State doesn't currently have a door open to?
Sure. So I'll be, Northwest Pennsylvania, my hometown, as well as Northeast Ohio, which is also, grandparents that grew up there and spent a lot of time with the location of Erie and how close it is to Cleveland and Youngstown. And then as well as New England will be another area for me that I've had a lot of experience, especially when I was my time in New York at Syracuse.
Audrey?
Sorry. One of the things that we've kind of seen pop up with the transfer portal, obviously, when you look at kickers and getting established specialists, do you have a philosophy there where do you think maybe it's better to get a portal guy as opposed to a 4-year guy, a high school guy that you could then develop? Where do you kind of stand on that if you do?
Yeah, I think each university is a little bit different. I'm feeling my way through that right now. But I think, number one, we've got to do a great job of recruiting the best specialists in PA. And at that position, historically, it's very difficult to get a scholarship out of high school, even if you're one of the best specialists. So I believe that we're going to be able to recruit preferred walk-ons and do a really good job of getting really good walk-ons here that are down the road, can develop and compete for jobs. And if there's a hole somewhere, the portal's always somewhere that we can go out to and supplement our roster if we need to.
On the right, Daniel?
Justin, you touched on your time at Edinburgh, that one season as a head
Yeah.
coach. What was that experience like for you, taking over that program, turning it around, and what are some of the lessons that you learned then that really resonate now?
Yeah, that's a tough question. My time at Edinburgh was great, and then one of the best experiences I've ever had. It was hard. We did a lot, and I think one of the things that stand out to me is just working at smaller schools, and I've really come up through this, from Division III. I started out at Division III and have kind of worked my way up. But you learn the value of every person in the organization, and I think at Edinburgh especially I learned that, the value of the coaches, the value of the SIDs, the value of the people that are taking care of the fields for you, the trainers, the media, all those things. You just get such a first-hand experience as a head coach, but especially at a smaller school where your hands are in everything. I think really just the respect and appreciation for everybody involved in the program is the main thing that I learned.
Mark?
And Justin, earlier you mentioned about rooting for Penn State on the inside. What did that look like over the last, 15, 20 years of coaching? How did that start?
Yeah, I think, so as a coach, you finish up a game on Saturday and you get in the bus, whether it's an away game or maybe even it's just in the locker room after, and you check scores, and Penn State was one that was always like on one of my favorites, that was always checking the Penn State score after every game, no matter where I was at. It's just, and there's so many connections. I mean, I can go on and on about the connections to this program that are friends or family, from going way back to a guy named Mark Tate. I don't know if that name rings a bell at all, but he was a Cathedral Prep grad where I went to high school. When I was in 7th grade, I was a ball boy and water boy on the sideline of Erie Prep games. They went to the state championship his senior year, and I always followed him, and so it goes all the way back to that for me. And then, having a lot of acquaintances through coaching that have worked here as GAs or as full-time coaches. So there's quite a bit of connections.
Any more questions? Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, we weren't sure if we'd be asking you about replacing a punter too today, but Riley Thompson got late word after his first season with the program that he was going to have extended eligibility. Curious what you gain, and that's weeks before, or a month before you get to campus, but what you gain in having a guy like that back who's proven it here, rather than having to find a new place kicker and a new punter in the same offseason.
No, it's huge. I mean, it's, at specialist, I think you can be talented and you can do it in practices, but doing it in games is a completely different animal. And, the mental game of that position is so critically important, being able to handle the crowd, being able to handle the situations in the games, and having a guy that's got some experience under his belt and him being able to come back is huge for us. And I've seen guys take big steps going into their junior and senior years or the 4th and 5th years at specialist positions. So expectations are high for him.
Any more questions?
Can I follow up and just ask if you work within like an Australian rules rugby, a product of Australia at the punter position?
Yeah, the punter I most recently worked with was a Ray Guy finalist, was an Australian. And interestingly enough, he was a transfer from FAU. So when he left FAU, Riley came in and replaced Matt. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you guys.
You
too.
too.